Hi there, and welcome to episode 60 of the ADHD Adults podcast, the fourth in our ultimately doomed to fail experiment of adding extra utter chaos to your lives. As usual, he's done it again, hasn't he? As usual, I'm James Brown, one of the lost boy vampires that they actually lost. So you're sticking with the vampire thing. That's here to stay, then, Al, is it? Okay. As usual, I'm joined by the man who was turned down for a blue tick, even though he offered to pay for it, Dr. Alex Connor. Alex, hi.
Thursday episode again. I like it very much. Hello. I feel I should add, because it's a Thursday episode, that we're doing this extra Thursday podcasts because people always ask for more personal reflections and bonus content, and we have the time because I can't do my Tudor cooking at the moment, James, because I haven't got the time. Time was a popular herb in medieval period.
Oh my
and still
God.
remains that day.
I nearly threw up over my microphone then.
I know, yeah. I'm not allowed to do puns, Sam, normally. I threw that one in. And James got more time because he's not allowed to go to the fair because he was scaring the children in the Hall of Mirrors. Not because he's a vampire. It's just the way he looks.
No, you wouldn't see him in a mirror if he was a vampire.
Exactly. That's not why, though. It's just they're not even crazy mirrors, are they, James? They're just regular mirrors.
But yeah. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Hiya. Oh, I'm all right.
Yeah. Remember that the microphone picks up your voice.
Yeah.
So when you lean back by about 3 feet,
Sorry,
your voice
I
gets...
do move around a lot. I've got ADHD.
We have noticed. Anyway, so this cheese and pickle sandwich purchased from Lidl of a podcast is a tragedy in 3 parts, just like the Monday episode. We'll discuss how the week between podcasts has been from our own ADHD perspective. And there's people involved in the ADHD community. We'll answer some questions from our community. So remember to send questions in. The best place is through Discord because that means Alex has to collect them. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this week's theme, ADHD burnout, why we chose it and how we feel about it. So
What's this thing about 4? Why do you keep saying 4? And why does it say 4 on the screen?
What?
Oh, because it's the 4th extra special Thursday episode, Sam.
That's the type of question that you could ask outside of when we're recording
Write it down.
a podcast. Yeah,
I'd forget it though because it only occurred to me now. I don't write things down.
Put it in the private chat. You could. There's loads of anyway.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. This is magic. Alex, how was your week?
Well, you know how it was. I was with you, the pair of you idiots. It was good. I was showing off, doing some filming for a company, and nice. It was strange to be. I was in a hotel, as you know, because I was in the UK, and I don't live in the UK. I live in a house in Bavaria.
Why didn't you stay with us?
Why? Because I had to. I was working. I had to be up script writing at like 6:30 every morning with breakfast, and then I had to be at the studio in the centre of town at 9. We were filming till 5, and then I had a meeting every night.
5, my God.
6:30 till about 9. And do you know why I'm not burned out? Because I wasn't staying with you. That's why. That's not true. No, it would have been really nice. Actually, the hotels, I find them really. There's a lot of sense that none of it's right. Everything.
Well, you stayed in a shitty hotel. That's why. I hate that hotel.
Very nice. No, it's lovely. Let's not mention its name.
No.
It was lovely. No. The only thing is that I was staying in the second city of UK, and I'm just downtime watching videos on my own. just scrolling through YouTube. So it's good. Yeah, very nice. What about you, Sam? How's your week been?
Shit. I can't remember what's happened now, but yeah, I can. Like, James has just been looking after his family all the time, so...
Oh, what have you?
And all I've done is literally just go over, try and entertain people for a bit and collect washing. So I've done hardly anything really, but James has just been full on for him. Go on.
What I would say is what you have been doing, and this is relevant to ADHD, is you've actually been working as well, haven't you? Because now you're
God, so much.
Yeah. So now you're on 50 milligrams, I think it is, of Lisdex amphetamine. she's genuinely engaging with work tasks. And I've got a little bit of guilt about what I'm going to say next. But I mean, let's face it. People think I'm a monster anyway. But I don't like
do,
the
and
fact.
they weirdly think Alex is nice.
I know it's mad,
the
isn't it?
opposite way round in real life.
Yeah, to some extent. But I'm not helping myself with what I'm about to say, which is I actually don't like you on medication because you spend less time with me and more time working. So even though your life's improved, you feel less stressed, there's less imposter syndrome, you're not spending time on me, you're doing work. So yeah.
Well, to be fair, you haven't been here this week. You've been looking after Bobbert, haven't you? But yeah, because you haven't been here, I've been working until like late into the night, but just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I get
your job.
fixated
Is that your
with
job?
things. It's what?
Is that your job? Yeah. No, I mean, were you doing your job?
Yes,
like,
it was my job. It was one particular throwaway task that somebody has given me that I've been fixated with, and it's all I think about all the time. And I just keep redoing it. I must have done it 25 times.
Yeah.
There's
Can I
been
just
2
interrupt
projects
for a second? Sorry, this is a new podcast we need to do. We need to talk about this a little bit. Is one of the Lisdex, Dex, and even methylphenidate, arguably even side effects is going down a rabbit hole to the I think I'm going to write it down and make it a new one because you're the second person this week that's complained about it. Sam and I get it too. So I'll throw it in.
And I don't just get it with work. It just so happens that at the minute it's work. Sometimes it can be like sanding down a room that I did before. I get really too focused on things, and then it's all I think about all the time. I just love it.
We're not used to the drug. Just briefly, what the drugs don't do is allow people with ADHD to suddenly want to do their accounts unless they enjoy that. They allow you to focus, but the motivation for that is still emotional short term. So we have to be really fucking careful because we're not used to being able to concentrate. So we can spend 3 hours looking for a new photography course that we don't actually want to do. The next day we don't know what. So yeah. Sorry, James, I've massively derailed the extra special force.
I think it's useful stuff. It's important.
No one's Jim Jeffries thing yesterday.
Sorry, no, that's the next part. That's the next part. Yeah, that's the next part. Save that. Keep that powder dry. That and the fake tan. Keep that powder dry for the next question. But yeah, I was about to say thanks for somebody asking me how my week was. I'll ask myself, but Sam did get in there and ask me. Obviously, quite stressful with Dad coming out of hospital. Not with the most support. Let's put it that way. With literally no support from the hospital, and therefore we as a family have had to just get everything in place and fight and scramble to get now 4 care visits a day and all the stuff that he needs. And that again has led to not sleeping and burnout and all that stuff. But things work-wise will be getting back to normal, which is great because I've been having to go to the hospital every day, and that again causes problems at work. It causes problems with my ADHD because of the stress. So I'm hoping from next week being able to work from Kidderminster, etc., will be better. Tour dates have been extended. Alex, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but there's an extra 4 tour dates being added. None of those. Are you doing any of those? Do you know?
The new one.
Yeah, I know because I sent them to him and I actually very benevolently said, "Do you want to come and do any of these?" Not because the event, not because the events might sell out if Alex is there. Not that at all. Not that. I mean, it might be that, but not that. It's definitely that.
Something like that, not that.
Something like that, yeah, but not that. And then Alex has said he may be able to join in some of the 2023 ones, and obviously completely ruin them. So it's been a very up and down week.
So what stupid thing have you been doing this week that you were again? I always feel bad asking this when your dad's not here. When you were supposed to be doing the thing you were supposed to be doing, I'm going to start with you, James. What stupid thing did you do when you were supposed to be doing something else?
I've just read what I've written down. And the second thing says stopping smoking, which I've already restarted.
I was thinking that earlier.
but I did. So again, we talked about smartwatch as a product recommendation at the end of Monday's episode, and my smartwatch suddenly popped up a warning saying your resting heart rate has been 10 beats per minute higher than it was the 3 months before the last 3 months. And I thought, I've got to stop smoking. I'm smoking too much. It's been a really stressful 7 or 8 weeks. And one of my coping mechanisms has been smoking, not a lot, maybe 10 a day, something like that. So I didn't smoke for a week, and I didn't want to. I was fine. But then when Dad came out of hospital, and again, it was just mishandled so atrociously by the hospital that, again, stress levels went up, and it was immediately buy a packet of fags. And also the filming that Alex and I were doing, because I wasn't in a good place. I didn't do any of the filming because I just knew that I'd be this sad, sallow vampire, apparently, on screen. And that caused massive internal kind of self-loathing and self-esteem issues. So it's been a brilliant week for me, Alex. It's, you know, but the stupid things that I've been doing are, again, looking after Dad, and immediately after a week, forgetting that I'd stopped smoking. What about you?
Well, the main silly thing I did was I got overexcited in the shop. I went to buy a phone charger, and I was staying this house on that. I left the studio we were recording in, and then I had a meeting. I had to chair a meeting expertly that you were actually at, you two, for the charity we run. I mean, the reviews have been mixed, all themselves, and then I overexcitedly spent a fortune on a new bag in Selfridges because the man was really nice to me. Fucking it, impulse, ridiculous.
And you're
£90 for a laptop bag.
You've got the money. It's fine. You've got a free projector recently. That saved you a fortune. Sorry, James. Go on.
If you look up at the screen, you can see someone put that. You do the. I'm interrupting now, and then they fly in. Yeah. Oh, it's going to work.
I just want to unpack that a bit, Al, because as everyone knows from our impulse spending episode, those that are still with us, is that you are so risk averse, not just in spending, in any decisions whatsoever. I'm fascinated at why you would on the spot pay £90 for a laptop bag. Yeah,
it's funny, and I don't care about people, as you well know. So it wasn't good. It was because. Oh, there's nothing I'm going to say that makes me feel good about myself. So impulsiveness. And I guess the first thing was, yes, I do look like the kind of man that can afford a £90. Why do you look like that for a minute? Oh. Then it's not black like I would normally buy. It was, it's red. And yeah, embarrassing. Really genuinely impulsive, lack of cognitive inhibition, embarrassment. I really like it.
That's brilliant. Now I know that this next part of the segment is going to be brilliant because I know what she's going to say. Sam, what specifically two things have you been doing this week that instead of what you were supposed to be doing? You've forgotten already, haven't you?
Instead of what I'm supposed to be doing.
It's the name of the question. It's not canonical. It's not that you have to literally answer that question.
You want me to bring up the Jim Jeffries thing?
That is one thing, yeah. So go on.
Okay. Yeah, so I saw that Jim Jeffries tickets were coming on sale, and you could get we like him. So you could get to special, quick, soon, what's the pre-sales if you join this super fan club, which I've joined before. So joined the club, and then the next morning I'm there with my link, which I'd put in my calendar, and clicked on the link, and I was like, it's not giving me access to the tickets. And I purchased the membership, and I'm going on my phone and on computers, and I was really annoyed. So in the end, I rang the customer services, and I was like, it's not letting me purchase pre-sale tickets. And I bought my membership, and she said, okay, I'll buy them for you. So well, she didn't buy them for me. I had to pay for them myself. But she booked them for me over the phone. And I was like, well, I want to complain about this because, I've paid for this membership and I didn't have access to the link. And it was bugging me because I thought I'm on the 6th row. But if I'd got in at 9:45, I could have been on the 1st row. So I was really annoyed that I paid for this. So I'm ranting away. And then I saw that actually you could buy better tickets than one I'd bought. So I was really angry because she hadn't even given me the best tickets. Anyway, messaged them and I was like, I'm not happy with these tickets. They weren't the best tickets and I didn't have access at 9:45. Why did I pay for this membership? Turns out the last time I bought membership was in 2018. So they refunded the tickets because I wasn't supposed to have bought them in the pre-sale because actually I haven't got membership. I do not know where I got this link from that I put in my calendar. I can't even remember. I don't know what happened.
Well, what she showed me actually was on her phone. It said she hadn't clicked bye. So she's got it all lined up in her phone.
Yeah, worked
Oh,
out,
God, I've
yeah.
done that so many times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
really
worked
hoping,
out.
Sam? I'm hoping beyond hope that this is like when you book tickets for the Red Hot Chili Pipers and you off to see Tim Jeffries. Like a
Well, with a meet and greets, we're going to get a picture taken with Tim Jeffries, both stood there
Yeah.
pretending to know who he is. That's. I mean,
That's
I
his,
got.
like, extremely bigoted comment.
Yeah. I got back home to this last night after spending 3 days over with Robert from Kidderminster, and that the story, which it goes on. I could see Alex looking tired as the story went on. Then I had it with more vitriol and energy to the point where I was just thinking, does it end? Are we going
I
to
was
see him?
obsessed.
Yeah. So
I was obsessed with where I'd found this link and why I just couldn't work out what had gone on at all.
Which again, as we've talked about, and now you're medicated. It's like a rabbit hole. I've got to find out. It's not, well, you know what? I've got tickets now. I can let that go. We can't sometimes let these things go. And actually, we're going to talk about justice sensitivity in next week's podcast, because sometimes the idea that we can't let something go because it's an injustice.
I get
that
really badly.
Well, exactly. In your case, this woman didn't get you the best tickets. That's an injustice. So therefore, you had to look into it and find out what had happened.
I wasn't allowed access at 9:45, which I paid for,
and you hadn't. And it was exactly. The other thing I just wanted to talk about, because it happened this morning, which is brilliant, is your lovely tanned complexion, Sam. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Have a problem with this fake tan thing. I put it on every week because I do poll and it makes me feel a bit better about myself, because I basically am a vampire. I'm grey without it. I mean, this is me with tan. I'm grey without it. But what I do is every week I forget which part of me I've done. So what happens is some parts are like double done and some parts aren't done at all. And it's not until the tan actually turns out that I realise that, oh my God, I haven't done that leg. Yeah, but I've done this one 3 times.
She'll have a leg that's twice as brown as the other one, or a torso that's not done, but her arms are.
I must have done 6 times today because it's really brown.
You have that on now.
Yeah.
I know this is mainly an audio medium, but they've both got.
That's how pale I am.
Yeah.
It's like I'm doing a podcast after a Dracula bit, the cranky.
And do you know what? This is the guide colour. I have to wash this off because it's too dark.
I mean, the lighting is not great. Believe it or not, Alex, I'm using the slightly yellow lights to try and give myself a less vampire-like complexion.
Be careful though, James. You don't want it to be actual sunlight for obvious reasons.
Of course not. Right, on that note, we're going to take a break, and Sam's probably going to say goodbye as she does. And in part 2, we'll answer some questions and thoughts. We'll answer some questions and thoughts from our ADHD Adult UK community. See you in part 2.
Bye.
Alex, hi.
Aight. What's up? Hello, Governor.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 60 of the ADHD Adults Podcast. Every time I get you, James. This is part 2 of the very 4th extra special Thursday edition of our podcast. And today we're reflecting on this week and we've been talking about burnout. We will a bit and again, but this is always the bit in the middle where we want to look at questions from the community and answer them a little bit. A lot of them come from our Discord channel, the ADHD Adults, and we're approaching 1,000 on that, aren't we, James? Which means we'll be able to advertise openly.
Yeah.
Shall I crack on with the first question? It's quite a good
We're
one.
not advertising openly now.
We're advertising so basically people on Discord can search for ADHD and it will come up as a community they can join. At the minute, we have to share a link for people to join. But well interjected.
Sorry.
Welcome to Forum Chat with James, Sam and Alex for all your forum link needs. Right, this is from Mama Chameleon or Chameleon.
Oh!
And it says, yeah, it's from the Discord.
I speak to her regularly.
Yeah, that's how forums work, or fora, if you prefer. It says, James and Sam as well. I mean, I know what the answer is going to be. Who is your favourite ADHD expert? Is it Barkley or Brown? Thomas, not James. Or Hallowell? Or someone entirely different? I absolutely love this question. I have to put some context into the question because all of our answers will be none of the fuckers. And it says, Halliwell seems very good, but he hears a lot on superpowers. I like that as ADHD himself. Often he gives good practical advice. Brown appeals to me because he often deals with, it says Asperger's, but obviously some who generally don't use that. Highlights the predominantly attentive side. His mantra is ADHD looks like willpower, but isn't. James, who's your favourite ADHD expert, James?
Are you trying to provoke me into talking about GM?
A bit, but also the fact that you don't read books.
No, I don't. I don't read books. So what I'm about to say should not in any way diminish people who read books about ADHD or about any subject or who watch documentaries. But Alex and I have been, if you like, brought up in academia. And what we tend to do is to read the scientific literature, which is so inaccessible to most people because it's written deliberately to be very technical. But I don't read books, partly because I know many of the scientists and doctors who've written books aren't doing it for an altruistic or benevolent reason. Russell Barkley definitely is the godfather of ADHD, and the work that he has done has laid the ground for much of the research that's followed, and he's incredible. I don't read his books. I read scientific literature, and that for me is one of the issues when it comes. I've been asked to write a book as a scientist because I've got a blue tick, Al, and I didn't. And actually, I think that we as an organization will write a book at some point, but it's going to be a slightly different book. And the issue with books is they have to sell. And if you go to a publisher and say, I would like to write a perfectly evidence-based book that lays out, kind of information that's already in the public domain about ADHD, they're not going to publish it. And therefore, books can often be controversial or polemic or to share opinions. My opinion of ADHD is that it's X, Y, or Z. And as we've already said before, opinions are fine if that's what you believe about yourself, but you shouldn't really say to other people, this is your ADHD based on your opinion, because that can be diminishing. So I don't have a favorite expert. My God, my voice is going. I don't have a favorite expert, but I have two favorite papers, which Alex is aware of, which are the two consensus statements, one from the World ADHD Federation and one from the European Association of ADHD Psychiatrists, because they lay out all the evidence that we know, and you've just got to read them for when people say, such as someone, let's say, I mean, his name's not Gabor Mate, but let's say Gabor Mate. When someone says, Babor Bate, when somebody says ADHD isn't genetic, or in another video, it's not even an illness, and there are papers which summarize all of the studies that show that it's 70 to 80% heritable. And yes, environment probably, does play a factor in many people.
It does.
Yeah, it may be that you need genes and environment, but you can't just say, that when they're stressed, children tune out and that's how they get ADHD, because it's utter fucking bullshit.
This on purpose. So nice.
Yeah,
I'm so glad it riled you.
Yeah. What about you, Alex? Have you got a favorite?
I'm gonna come to Sam first. Sam, have you do you read ADHD books?
No. Do I need to?
No.
Yeah, you don't get your badge otherwise.
The correct answer is James is my favorite ADHD.
I've just listened to a lovely audio book, but it's not on ADHD.
No, please don't talk about golems and gins. I can't bear it. I drove me to the train station and I tried to jump out at one point.
I've learned so much about the gin.
No, again, no. Welcome to Gin Chat with anywho. Say exactly the same, James. I again really like Barkley, like the papers. I love that your favourite book on ADHD is the consensus statement for the World ADHD Federation. I was at their first when they fought. I was there in Congress.
And you didn't know you had ADHD, as we've covered.
I hate to agree with you about everything you said, apart from Gabor Mate, who I think is a fucking legend and diamond.
Fuck off.
I don't know who any of these people are. I'm just completely flummoxed by this whole conversation.
Gabor Mate is Jar Jar Gabor's dad.
I don't know who that is.
Know Jar Jar Gabor is.
I literally don't know anybody.
I'm moving on to another question before I say silly things. Right then. Sorry if this is covered already. This is from the Small Lebowski. If ADHD,
I like that name.
It's cool, isn't it? If ADHD is a spectrum disorder, why is there a binary diagnosis? I'll come to Sam first on that one.
You know, I don't know what any of those things mean. I know that
Well, and
binary is 0 and 1.
Yeah, it means like
Oh,
you
either
either
or.
are or aren't
Two
ADHD in
options, yeah.
medical
Oh, no.
world, right? But it's
Pass,
obviously
fail.
bollocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. James, why not?
Well, exactly that. It shouldn't be. That's so the way in which ADHD diagnosis has to fit into two rule books, if you like. One is the World Health Organization's list, the ICD, the list of diseases, and one is the DSM. One is the DSM-5, which is the diagnostic manual for psychiatric disorders. And depending on where you are in the world or what organization you work for, that's the template you use for an ADHD diagnosis. But it's not perfect. And in some cases, it's not right. The DSM-3, I'm guessing, Alex, I'm right, wouldn't have had adult ADHD in there, probably, or maybe 2.
I don't think 4 did it?
I think four might have, because they reduced it from 6 to 5 symptoms out of 9, from 4 to 5.
Very, very poor, very limited.
But in 3, there was nothing about adult ADHD. And in the DSM-6, when that comes out, I'm pretty sure that the diagnostic criteria will change. We always talked about how it's an executive function disorder, and that actually leads and cognitive inhibition, and those two things lead to ADHD symptoms. So it is a spectrum disorder. We are all slightly different, but psychiatrists have to use these 18 symptoms, 9 of inattentiveness, 9 of hyperactivity, impulsivity, and the other stuff like having it at 12, having it as a child, cut off at 12, etc. But as we talked about very briefly in one of the previous episodes, there's now this concept of subthreshold ADHD, that there are individuals that may have 4 out of 9 symptoms, so wouldn't get a diagnosis, but they have worse outcomes than people who have no symptoms. So it definitely is a spectrum disorder, but it's a binary diagnosis because psychiatrists have to use these diagnostic manuals and are trained to use them. And therefore, if you don't meet the criteria, it's a no, even though it's possible you do have a milder form of ADHD, for example. Alex, would you like to add to that?
Would like to challenge it as well.
Go on,
Weird thing to say at the start of a challenge, which is I completely agree. However,
yeah,
and this is really hard. Ding. We have to be careful not to over-medicate in society.
Yeah.
We have personalities as well. And we've all got friends, I mean, and we've all done it ourselves, probably. I certainly have, where we over-diagnose everyone, especially when you get ADHD, you start to spot it, but then you spot it too much. Just because I'm geeky, sometimes people have said, "Oh, well, you're autistic." I think someone said that to you as well, James. No, I'm fucking not. Do you know what that means? Autism? He's a bit flighty. He's probably ADHD. You've no idea. And we've got to be really 2.5% approximately of adults are ADHD. Yeah. It's a real disorder at the end of extremes of mental continuum. So loads of people have got our traits because a bit of it's good. And so that's why we have to be a bit careful. So we do have to come up with what is a social construct, but nevertheless, a sort of cut-off. I just think you're right that we should be gentle in how we treat sub-threshold people as well and maybe support them.
Yeah.
Which bit's good?
So not people with ADHD, but if you are impulsive, but you can control it, which we can't, that's helpful, isn't it? We'd never have left the muds of plains of Africa. So we're the extremes that, unfortunately, we've got too much of that, which isn't good, but it's because we need to keep in the population, your regular impulsive dudes, those guys that can,
a little bit of impulsivity can make someone fun to be around, can make somebody, the life and soul of the party, Sam. But obviously somebody who's impulsive all the time to the point where it causes them moderate impact on their 2 domains of their life, then that's ADHD.
I like to think we take one for the team. We are like
Ding.
Because most people very good. We're like this because 95% of people then get enough of these traits to just
because of us.
Because of us.
Oh, I like that.
I do as well. Right then. Last question.
That went quick, didn't it?
Stridge, not for the listeners. From Stridge, how is the tea making situation? When I heard about your challenges at this, my ADHD problem-solving brain went wild trying to find solutions and adjustments. You could use the Discord community to collectively solve it for you. Is it still an ongoing struggle, James?
Sam, what did you find the other day?
Honestly, I can't even describe what it looked like. But I'll come down in the morning and there's just it looks like a pot of shit. I come down in the morning and he's got
Next
like
to that was a cold cup of tea.
Do you not dip your shit in tea? I mean, isn't that what everybody does?
Yeah, he's got all these fucking things, gadgets, and one of them to try and remind him that not remind him, but to make the tea thing better. It's instantly boils, so you've got a pot full of water instantly, yeah. But what he does is puts it under there and then just walks off and leaves it, so it's brewed all night long and it's just there and brown, and they're just dotted about the house in various stages of shitness all the time.
Yeah. So
that's
yeah. So to answer to Stridger's question, the tea making situation, I would say it's improved marginally in that I do manage to drink some cups of tea, even first time, which never used to happen. But again, we've talked a little bit about how stress makes ADHD symptoms worse. For the last few days when I've been over at Robert from Kidderminster's house, I've lost so many cups of tea because you put them down, the working memory doesn't work, and then 10 seconds later you think, hang on, I'll put that somewhere. The weird thing is, I can make tea for other people, as you know, because you made me when I was burnt out, make you 2 cups of tea, and they came instantly. So I can make tea for other people, but when it's myself, I can't do it. And I was planning to do a reel on this because I've got 5 pictures of cups of tea I didn't manage to finish making in the same week,
God.
and I was going to show it.
Just come up saying "Peace with the Wild." That's you, Al.
What are you clicking on and watching while we're in the middle of recording a podcast?
Nothing. Like a little banners come up to, I don't know what it is, but it just came up saying "Peace with the Wild." It's funny, isn't it?
So we're now going to take a break, and in part 3, we'll talk a little bit more about this week's theme, which was burnout. See you in a bit. Long trumpet. I don't. Yeah. So
welcome back to part 3 of the ADHD Adults podcast.
Episode.
I did it. Oh, episode 60, part 3 of the ADHD. Welcome back to episode 60, part 3 of the ADHD Adults podcast. It was professional, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Do you want to ask
the screen?
Do you want to ask the question that what part 3 is about?
There's always part 3.
What made you choose the last idea for a theme? What?
Okay. Yes, exactly. What do you mean?
Do you mean what?
Oh, is that the question?
Yes.
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
Asking, why did
what
we
made you choose the last idea for a theme? What does that even mean? The last idea.
It sounds like you asking Sam, why did we choose the theme Burnout for Monday's podcast?
Why did you choose the theme Burnout for Monday's podcast? It's now Thursday.
I'm glad you're interested.
But I'll go first. Burnout. I had burnout, so I thought let's talk about burnout. That's quick and easy, isn't it? Yeah. Alex, what about you?
I didn't even know what it was. Really didn't even know. I certainly didn't know it was more common with ADHD until James told me. We learn all the time about ADHD, and we do evidence-based psychoeducation. And sometimes, so we've often said in the past that ADHD brains are bigger, haven't we, James? And we were looking at the metadata. Sorry, smaller, 5% smaller on average. And we were looking at the metadata this week, or James was showing me some that suggested adults that might not be true anymore. So we have to row that back and say, we're not entirely sure that's true anymore. It's still true in children, apparently. And so so I've learned about burnout this week. Didn't know what it was. Don't think I've ever had it. I think I'm the right man for the job.
Is part of that though, because you don't read ADHD books, and because social media is this completely foreign language to you, so you don't often see other people's accounts. Because what I can tell you is that I've seen on Instagram over the last 18 months while we've been doing this, loads of posts about ADHD burnout. And the reason we haven't done it is again, if you go to the scientific literature databases and put that term in, you get fuck all back, really, because there isn't a lot of research. And because we're evidence-based, we generally want to have some evidence that it is worse in ADHD. So that's why we kind of didn't really, I don't know, not so much know about it, but certainly cover it. I guess.
That's what you didn't. I just
Yeah.
didn't know anything about it. No one on MySpace is talking about it.
No. And Sam, I think you mentioned earlier before you realised you absolutely did get ADHD burnout. It's not something you were aware of, was it?
No, I wasn't aware of it. Didn't think I had it. I still don't really understand it. Is it an ADHD thing, or do everybody just gets tired?
Everybody gets burnt out if they overcommit, whether emotionally or physically, to particularly oversee a period of time. But because of the core traits of ADHD, because of the associated traits, low self-esteem, people pleasing, RSD, we are often more likely to overcommit, particularly for doing stuff for other people, because we don't want to let them down, because we don't want them to view us negatively, because we can't say no, which is why we talked about the positive no on Monday. So because of that overcommitment, we can then often just get to a point where we just stop, and then the emotions go, and we're exhausted, and our peaceful wildness becomes wildness.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that, actually, now you say it again.
So
and it's like a snake eating its own tail, isn't it? Because the things that then burnout makes you feel like are very commonly known as things that exacerbate ADHD symptoms, including insomnia and all the other the twitchy motherfucker stuff.
No, exactly, and I think that's the important. That's why I think it's important to do an episode, not purely because we're chasing numbers, and people like to talk about ADHD burnout.
The two are unrelated, aren't they?
Coincidentally, we think that Monday's episode might have done well, but yeah, no, it's important. It's important. Go on, Al.
It is. No, and I just want to say that I've missed off the script as well while we're still talking about it. Was there anything on Monday's episode that we recorded? I know, Sam, you won't be able to remember it, but that you wanted to say about burnout, or your feelings on it, or your personal reflections, or a tip that you didn't or forgot?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because I don't have a memory now. That's my memory's gone now. So I can't really remember anything about it. But
I guess this is me now.
I guess this is me now. It's a shame. I liked having some of a memory, but that's completely gone now. I actually can't remember what you've just said to me.
Yeah. I'll jump in. I'll jump in on Sam's behalf. What I would say is that actually we've talked a little bit about this, and it has a couple of names: ADHD buddying, body doubling, for example. This is where actually, if you're in a relationship or if you have friends, if you're part of the ADHD community, we need to look out for each other, and that includes, if your partner can clearly see that you're overcommitting, as Sam has a lot with me, just tell people you need to take a break. You need to rest. That thing that you're doing, it will still be there if you take an hour to sit down, have something to eat, go to the toilet, etc. And that's really important. That sometimes we are so hyper focused on doing these things, or so driven to do these things, that obviously we can't spot that we're burning out, but people around us will. I can see with Sam in the past, and obviously do fuck all about it, but I can see with Sam in the past when she is approaching burnout because she's taking on so much, and I can with you as well. And in fact, all I do is send you abusive messages calling you a giant bellend when you tell me that you're struggling with mental health issues, because they are much worse than that. So one thing I didn't talk about, which I think is important, is having that support network, whether it's your partner, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's the ADHD community. And this is why I think we've got a burnout channel on Discord, haven't we? Or we had one, I think.
Have we?
Yeah. This is why having people that you can talk to, who can actually just maybe give you the advice you can't take yourself or can't tell yourself, can be really powerful.
I sometimes as well, if I think you're really struggling, I will message Alex sometimes just to say, listen, just to be aware. He's really struggling. If you want to start ripping the piss out of him, now's the time, because he's really at the bottom. You could completely destroy him.
Yeah, he's weak.
No, but I think you need people looking out for you, and I'm I'm not enough really. So sometimes, I call on Al. Was that a song? You can call me Al.
Call me Al.
Yeah.
What about you, Alex? Is there anything you'd like to add for something
you
you
can call
didn't
me
know
Al.
existed?
Can I call you Betty?
Fuck off.
I'm going to add to what you just said, James, because I'm going to give you everyone a psychological tip for how to do that.
Oh,
The tricky bit is, yes, get your friends involved as much as you possibly can. And then you've got to do it yourself. You have to do self-care yourself. And that's a problem for so many people that I coach, that I work with ADHD, because they've got self-esteem problems. When I was staying at I had tea with you at your house, James, and you asked me, after having no sleep, should I get some sleep tonight, or should I stay over there and not? And I'm thinking, what the fuck do you think? You make a terrible choice. You chose not to. But one of the reasons is that people can't do self-care because it's for them, or they think it is. So what works, I promise it works, takes a little bit of practice, is to do self-care for somebody else. So ask yourself this question. You might need to write it down. How would my partner feel if I was rested and happier? How would they feel? And then by doing that self-care, by putting the oxygen mask on first, they will feel happier. So you're doing it not for yourself, but for them, especially if it's a physical thing. Like,
I need to try and remember that. That's a good one.
That's why
it's really, really psychologically important, especially for everyone, I think, but for people with ADHD, especially because of RSD. Then the emotional reward isn't with you. You're not asking for anything. It's not for you. You're not being selfish. The opposite is true. So
I suppose you've just got to be able to spot it first, though, haven't you?
Anything you do for your own mental well-being is not, in fact, for you. It's for the people you care about, and for your colleagues, because you're a better, more productive person at work.
Like a guru.
I'm like a Yogi Bear.
If he is a guru, he's the kind of
Yogi.
I'll just stop there. I'll just stop there. There's no point. There's no point.
The average monkey.
I was actually being Scooby-Doo then.
No. I think if we ever look back on this and look for a low point, in the podcast, I think that's probably going to be it, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of competition. Yeah. Alex, take us away, please.
That was our episode 60 of the ADHD Adults, and it was the third or possibly fifth extra special Thursday edition of the ADHD Adults podcast after Monday's episode on ADHD and burnout. If you like this nonsense, which is unlikely, and you want to get involved, do contact us on the socials, regardless of what it says on our TikToker over there. It's at the ADHD Adults now, on Discord, on Twitter while it still exists, on Instagram, and the other things. Goodbye, all.
Bye.
See you next time.
Trigger warning, klaxon, 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 klaxon.